Bert, your talk today was so inspiring, and I was sitting in the audience here at SHRM 21 the whole time thinking, it's wonderful to see a positive company as yourself. And from the human side, and that's what the theme is about the whole person.
Yeah.
We're humans
Yeah.
in a workplace. We are mothers, we are daughters, we are siblings. So can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Sure. Thanks, Maria, for the kind words. So I think it's one of the most important things is that we're often taught to find our differences, and really we're all very similar, and we all come from dysfunctional families, and we all have struggles in our lives, and life is not easy. And life is not perfect, but life is good. And so I think trying to tell some of our stories and the ups and downs and share with each other is really important. And I think it's secondarily important if what you do for a living and what I do for a living. Like trying to find our common ground first, and then secondarily getting into how we utilize our skills in the world is a nice approach.
So you're featuring some of the stories that some of the kids that were going through their own hardship and wearing Life is Good brand.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned when you and your brother were starting out living in a van, going from city to city. And people would say when you become successful is when you have the big company and
Right.
all the money. But you're saying during that time
Yeah.
and during the hardship time, you
Yeah.
actually believe life is good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the big problems is that people think that money is going to make them happy, but historically it doesn't. And neither does kind of being in this place or that place. It comes from within us, and the happiness and a fulfilling life are much more likely to come from changes to our disposition, to our view of the world, and also focusing on the right support system. So being around people who support each other and love each other, as simple as that sounds, those are the things that end up making a person happy, not making $1 million a year. If you look at all the data, it shows that there's really no, it's not all the happy people or the rich people over here, and the people who are sad are the people that aren't as rich over here. It just doesn't work that way.
Growing up and starting your company, you didn't have that kind of insight, right, to know that, hey, I'm going to be positive, I'm going to be this positive person and build this positive company. During those hard times, how did you personally process that? Because you were talking about how your parents, they were your role models.
Yeah. So our mom in particular started this ritual at the dinner table where she said, tell me something good that happened today. And it's funny because later we realized that was the inspiration for Life is Good. We really didn't realize it when we started, but after a few years we thought, well, that really came from Mom. And she taught us at the dinner table that the energy you bring to the table is really powerful and it's important. And we learned that when people go through adversity, they tend to come out with a heightened gratitude for life. So, for example, if you and I had a sandwich today, it might just be a sandwich. Unless one of us was in the hospital for a year eating through a tube, then it's not just a sandwich. You're picking up that bread, looking at the tomato, and you think you're in heaven, and it's just an amazing thing. So our view of the world, everything's relative, And so since things weren't so easy at home, the time that people thought was difficult when we were selling T-shirts in the street or sleeping in the van, we didn't look at it that way. We thought we were lucky at that point. We really did. And the more we connected with our customer base, they weren't people on easy street. They were people going through difficult things, but people that realized that being a rational optimist is powerful. And when I say rational optimist, I mean not pie in the sky like every day's perfect and it's just ice cream and, playing ball. It's more that difficult things are going to happen, but rationally, when we look at it, strategically, it's better to focus on our strengths when we wake up in the morning than it is our faults. You can acknowledge your faults and the faults of the world, but one thing is true about human beings: whatever we focus on grows. And so strategically, it makes more sense to focus on our strengths and focus on the opportunities.
So you don't necessarily think that we should work on our weaknesses, because a lot of times, we're taught that is, take those weaknesses and make them stronger.
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, I think that it's okay to acknowledge your weaknesses, right? But we all have limited resources, and the number one limited resource is time, right? So how much of your time do you want to spend on your weaknesses, and how much of your time do you want to spend on your strength? I would say let's go like 20-80, you know what I mean? So 80 on your strengths. So it's okay to work on things and improve. There's nothing wrong with that. But obsessing over your shortcomings or obsessing over things that get in your way is not proven to be very productive.
You know, most people, when they're coming to work and they have the world on their shoulders, so you had mentioned, and whether it's being a caregiver, whether it's just the day-to-day, operations, and they may have some mental health issues at the same time, right?
Sure.
So as we're moving forward, whether it's in the workplace, what would be your best advice for someone who is struggling and wants to show up, but if the pressure is just so strong?
Yeah, so I think the important thing is to really take a pause and determine who you are, what's most important. Because we talked a little bit today about work-life balance, which I think is a really ridiculous phrase, okay? You can't balance, you don't put your life on hold over here so that you can go to work and try to balance the two of them. People often think of that like, well, I'm at work now and I'm going to get back to my life. When you're at work, that's a big part of your life, right? So I think my advice is to try to determine exactly who you are, what you love, what's most important, and bring that to work. If you can't bring that to work, you might not be in the right place, and you might have to make a difficult change. I know that's not easy, but you want to be somewhere that is aligned with your values, with who you are as a person, because your life is the bigger thing, and your work is something inside that.
You're not only is your company a great company, but you're also doing good. Can you tell us about your foundation?
Sure. The Life is Good Kids Foundation works with kids whose life might not otherwise be good. So it's children that face poverty, children that face violence, children that face life-threatening illnesses. We work in homeless shelters and foster care centers and oncology departments. And the way we do it is we support adults that we call playmakers who work with children. And just like our brand is all about emotional health. The nonprofit does the same thing. So we're not providing food or shelter or medicine. We're dealing with the child's psyche, and we're letting that child know that the world isn't always this traumatic place where something horrible is going to happen, that good things happen and that people care about them and love them and make them feel safe. And we've found that we've been doing this now for 25 years, and we've found that those children that face real adverse conditions, if they're granted relationships with adults that make them feel safe and loved, they're capable not just of surviving, but thriving and becoming leaders. And if you think about it as like a pendulum that swings up high on the dark side with the challenges, can swing up even harder and higher, rather, on the light side. And that's exciting, and it's fun to work with these kids and see kids that otherwise might be headed down the wrong path instead kind of make great connections and become collaborative. So that's what we do, and the way we do it is that $1 out of every $10 that Life is Good makes in profit goes to the Kids Foundation. We get funding from our customers too. They practically match everything we do. So when they're buying t-shirts and sweatshirts, we say, can you throw $1 or $2 in for the kids? And they do. They really do. And I think, like, selfishly, although this wasn't a strategy from the beginning, I think a lot of the allegiance to our brand is because we're doing good things. So yes, you have to have a nice soft hoodie sweatshirt that fits right and they like the colors and the graphics and all those things. But they have allegiance to us, I think, and they come back to Life is Good because they know that when they make that purchase, they're doing great things. And our staff tells us all the time that, they don't feel as though on the weekend they have to go volunteer. They feel like they can go for a bike ride with their boyfriend or go to the football game or whatever it is, because if they just do their job at Life is Good, they're helping kids that really need it. So it's very simple, but we're real believers that the next phase of capitalism is integrating social work and focused on people and our planet as much as profit. And, it's not a new idea. We've been doing it for a long time. What's new is there's more and more organizations, big and small, that are getting on board with this. And they're realizing that consumers in the 21st century vote with their dollars for what they care about. And so consumers are tearing down businesses that are not doing great things. and they're building businesses like ours that are doing great things. We're not that great at business. We aren't. We haven't had everything figured out, but we've been authentic, and our consumers recognize that we're doing good things, and they've rewarded us by building the business. And I think that's a model. And even big players like Unilever, who was largely considered kind of a demon in capitalism a short time ago, they're now building great programs for the planet. And I read the other day that 7 of their top 10 brands are dedicated to better practices for the environment, stringent, like difficult practices, and those are the best performing brands, delivering more profit. That's a great sign. And so I think there's more and more businesses getting on board, and we're real believers that in this century, business is actually going to be a hero.
Well, like you said about Richard Branson, as we all have a tie-in that you said you can have a successful business or you can be kind and do good and still make profit.
That's right. That's right. It's a great example too. I mean, Richard Branson has a global business and a global network, and a powerful employee of hers, one of my heroes, somebody named Jean Olwang, showed him that with a little bit of resources within that organization, she could help a lot of people. And when she showed that successfully, he pulled her out of that position on the for-profit side and started Virgin Unite. And they launched the Carbon War Room and the Elders and many other incredible programs, and they're launching more now. And so we're in alliance with those guys at Virgin Unite. They're doing really good things, and there's a kinship amongst a lot of these businesses that are doing good things. And I'll tell you what, again, selfishly, ever since we started the Kids Foundation, we've been sleeping like a baby.
Well, my final question for you, and thank you so much for being here, is what are you most grateful for?
Yeah, that's probably easy. I mean, we've stumbled along with this business. I think all the answers have come from somebody else. So the idea of focusing on rational optimism came from our mom. The first logo, Jake's face, really got zeroed in on by one of our friends who came to a keg party we threw, and she drew an arrow, so that answer came from her. Our value system, the life is good superpowers, we call them, compassion and love and gratitude, etc., they came from our customers. So I'm really grateful that, and I think it's a lesson for business owners that you don't have to have the answers. I'm grateful that we sort of put our hands up sometimes and say, I don't know, and people help us. And from the beginning, people have helped us. And today, I don't think the best answers in our business are coming from my brother and I. They're coming from other people and other coworkers that, we're gathering together, and our story is as much about their life and our customers' life as it is ours. So I think I'm grateful for the friendships and the collaborations, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk to you guys today.
Well, that's what I'm grateful for. And sincerely, thank you for showing up and taking the extra time, because I know that you're traveling and you're doing so much, and for the impact that you're creating. And I told you that our mission is to do positive media, and you are a fine example of that. So
Great.
Thank you.
Keep up the great work, Maria. Thank you so much.